That's right, lady and gentlemen. We are getting this live stream kicked off at 12:56 a.m. Just getting into the 7th day of February, in the year 2025 of our Lord. Thank you. Just want to say thank you for being here, whatever day, whatever year, whatever timeline, wherever you're at in consciousness. We're going to jump into Shapr today. I think we're just going to hang out there for a minute and share my screen with you. We're just going to take a look at the project we've got ahead of us here today. There she is. Please take just a few moments to just relax. Get a little funky. Cheers to you. Peace be with you. We're going to jump right into Sherlock Holmes. But first, I want to give an update on yesterday. I did get my sales dropped off at a CA compliant grip head out to California. I was able to include in a small gift package the first of our small M-lock clips, which you see right here with the snap clip M-lock. Went out for customer review for the first time. They didn't purchase it, but we sent it out as a little gift, a little thank you. I had printed this in black, but I had printed it at that 45, and there was the problems there. So I was not able to get that out to the customer. I have since printed that in black vertical and had 100% success. Minus one of the small ones had, because I went vertical, I think I should go vertical with a slight tilt to the in. Vertical, the slightest tilt to the in. And what happened was one of the outside edge here, and it broke because this is resin, and I think I'm slightly overexposing. So I'm going to try to work my exposure time down on these darker resins. So black especially, I've got to expose for something like 4.8 seconds. I also have green on a 4.8 second exposure, and I'm thinking I would love to have that down to 3.8. But whatever. It is what it is. So most of them turned out fine. But even losing one is more than nobody wants to lose even one. If you have the right strategy, you can get away with 100% success if you just take care of your equipment and you manufacture in the right ways. SOPs, standard operational procedure. Figure it out. Get it together. So now we're going to start printing them vertical with a slight angle, a slight favor towards the inside. If it is going to crack off anywhere, it's going to crack off on the inside where the customer will have it out of sight and out of mind. That's the plan moving forwards. Yeah, sheesh. I think we're going to start out with a flat cube, and we're just going to start hacking away at it. To the left-hand side, we have an example, which I did not use for my first hand stop. I probably should have used a visual aid. My first hand stop is a solo pin. It's really quite small. In fact, it's got to be near the top. There you are, buddy. It's not that much smaller. It's significantly narrower. Yeah, it is. It is. It is. It's pretty small. It's a small person. Stop. That's okay. It's all right. It's a start. I apologize. It's gonna hook you in there better than this one, though. This one kind of throws you off. I don't really like that. I like what they're doing, but they had to do what they did regarding what you see here, where it's a nub. They couldn't come down really that low. We can come down lower than they can, for sure. All right. The tail in the back. What do you guys think about the tail in the back? I'm not sure it serves a purpose structurally. Let's take a look at that. The second cone goes through the middle, and there's no nub on the back. It's solely there for aesthetics. Which I think is what this is about. That sucks. Because it doesn't... Well... No, it does make it stronger. You're right. It makes it stronger. Cut that off and see... Watch that fucker... watch that thing fall. And smack this corner here. if this additional 8 to 12% is not there, then you're likely to have a fracture here, or there, or somewhere horizontally here, depending on how it's flowing in there. Okay, so let's agree that bigger, wider structure is a stronger, something a little beefier. Let's give the kids something a little beefier. Let's give them something a little beefier. We're about to hack it up anyway with the hex. Let's give them something that can't be grabbed. It's not a grip. It's not a grip like this. We can grip like this in the front. We are going to do tomorrow, essentially, or the next time. It's going to be a full vertical grip, hex grip. But today, doing the hex hand stop. Here we go. 1, 2, 2. Start the Sherlock Holmes. Where are we? Did we complete the Sussex Vampire?
Well, Dr. Watson, which of your many Sherlock Holmes adventures have you decided to tell us this evening?
Well, to tell the truth, I was in a quandary as to where to begin until I received a communication by this afternoon's post. Oh, here it is.
Thank you. Wedding announcement. Gloria Waverly Pembroke to Juan Fernando Ferguson. So that's a strange combination of names. Juan Fernando Ferguson, Dr.
Yes, Juan Fernando Ferguson was the victim in the case of the Sussex
Here
vampire.
we go.
Although he was hardly a year old at the time.
The case of the Sussex vampire. That sounds promising.
The exact same question that Holmes put to me at the beginning of this case. Oh, but before we go into the subject, suppose you say a few well-chosen words. A subject we're very pleased to hear about on this program.
Thank you, Dr. Watson. A few words that give you the whole story in a nutshell are these. Clippercraft clothes are the best values in suits, top coats, and overcoats you've ever seen. Now, you have every right to say to me, how do you explain that, Mr. Harris? Tell us what makes it so. Well, explaining Clippercraft's great values is simple as ABC. They're planned values. They take advantage of all the ingenuity their makers can bring to bear. The Clippercraft plan concentrates the buying power of 924 leading stores across the nation, making tremendous
924.
savings in manufacturing and
Are
distribution
they losing
costs.
stores? I feel
You
like
get
they're
the
losing
savings
stores.
this brilliant plan makes possible. What's more, you get them at your own local independent store, at the store you can trust. Until you see them, you wouldn't believe such beautifully tailored suits were possible at only $40 and $45. Such handsome top coats and overcoats at only $40. Clippercraft values are so downright remarkable. We urge you to compare them with clothes selling for many dollars more. And now, Dr. Watson, to return to the case of the Sussex vampire.
It was a blustery afternoon, Mr. Harris, early in November in the year, let me see, somewhere early in the 1900s. Well, at any rate, I had returned to our rooms in Baker Street to find Holmes standing before the huge reference books he had compiled for himself, the volume V in his hands and a critical look.
There you are, Watson. You look a trifle windblown.
Well, it doesn't take any brilliant deduction on your part to ascertain that fact, my dear Holmes. What a gale. It fairly tears the coat off your back. I had to chase my hat almost the entire length of Kensington Gardens. Oh, I'm completely exhausted.
Exercise is good for you.
Oh, yes, then why don't you indulge in it more frequently?
I don't need to. My waistline isn't becoming unmanageable.
Well, there's nothing matter with my waistline. A bit more substantial than yours, perhaps, but it's...
Watson, stop your sputtering. I haven't time to listen. We've something more serious on hand.
Oh, I say, a new case?
I haven't decided. Watson, in your own invaluable opinion, just what is a vampire?
Oh, I thought you didn't have time for any tattle. you?
I haven't. My question's entirely serious.
A vampire? Oh, well, a vampire's supposed to be a sort of walking corpse that lives by sucking human blood and can only be held in its grave by a stake driven through its heart. It's a purely legendary figure like werewolves and sea serpents.
Exactly. A childish bugaboo.
Yes, just the result of a lot of ignorant peasants frightening each other. Their imaginations run away with them. Hocus pocus like that could never become current in England.
No? Superstition's a difficult thing to stamp out. Read this letter.
Oh, what is it? The hysterical ravings of some neurotic female?
On the contrary, it's a business letter from Morrison and Dodd, one of the oldest and most reputable law firms in the city. Read it.
Mr. Sherlock Holmes, in Re-Vampires. Sir, our client, Mr. Robert Ferguson, of Ferguson and Muirhead, tea brokers of Mincing Lane, has made some inquiry from us concerning vampires. As our firm specializes upon the assessment of machinery, the matter hardly comes within our purview, and we have therefore recommended Mr. Ferguson to lay the matter before you.
The question now is, does it come within our purview either?
Well, we seem to have been switched into Grimm's fairy tale. We may as well expect a witch on a broomstick to come flying down the chimney.
Oh, well, anything's better than stagnation, eh, Watson? Besides, stamping out superstitions, what about... Now what? Come in, come in. Oh, good afternoon, Mrs. Hudson.
A letter for you, sir. Came from the lighthouse.
From Mr. Robert Ferguson, Cheesemans, Lamberley. Thank you, Mrs. Hudson, thank you.
Don't mention it, sir.
Oh, this Mr. Ferguson, he doesn't seem to have lost any time in getting in touch with you, Holmes.
The matter must be fairly urgent. Cheesemans, Lamberley. Where is Lamberley, Watson?
In Sussex, south of Horsham.
Read the letter, there's a good fellow.
Oh, really, Holmes? You're becoming more indolent every day.
Rubbish, just because I sit here relaxed with my eyes closed doesn't mean I'm not mentally alert. Get on with the letter, get on with it.
Well, wait a minute, can't you? Wait till I get it out of the envelope. There we are. My dear Mr. Holmes, I have been recommended to you by my lawyers, but the matter is so delicate I hardly know how to explain it to you. Some 5 years ago, I married a South American lady, the daughter of a Peruvian merchant. She's very beautiful and a most loving wife, but I cannot help feeling that there are sides of her character which I can never explore or understand. A few months ago, she began to show some curious traits quite alien to her ordinarily sweet and gentle disposition. This is my second marriage. I have one son by my first wife, charming and affectionate, but a cripple. Twice my wife was caught in the act of assaulting this poor lad in the most brutal and unprovoked way. That was a small matter, however, compared with her conduct to her own child, a beautiful boy just under 1 year of age. The story, if true, is almost too horrible to mention. One afternoon last week, I heard my older boy screaming upstairs. Almost immediately, the baby's nurse burst into the room and begged me to follow her as my wife was in one of her spells.
Let me go. Let me go. You're hurting me. Oh, Mr. Ferguson, sir, come quick. It's your wife. She's took bad again.
What?
She's beating the boy. Oh, hurry, sir. She'll kill him.
Good heavens, this is dreadful. Come along, nurse.
She's beating the boy.
Oh, stop, Henry. Stop.
I'm coming, Jackie. I'm coming.
I'm coming.
Tina, let the boy go. I say, let the boy go.
Father, look. Father, she...
These old-time radio
Why you think
dramas
you
were
make
crazy.
bells on? This
Oh
is too
my
much,
god.
Tina. Are you going crazy?
I hate him. I
Wow.
hate him, you little beast.
After all, Tina, he is my son and a cripple. How can you be so inhuman?
It is because I love you. Don't you understand? I would sacrifice myself rather than break your heart. You must believe. You must trust me.
Yes, but what do you want me to believe?
I cannot tell, but you must trust.
After all, actions speak louder than words. How can I believe you love me when I see you torturing my son?
I hate him. Take him away. I will kill him next
Stop
time.
it.
Oh my
You're
gosh.
delirious. That's it. You're
She's
delirious.
serious about it,
Don't
dude.
you think so, nurse?
It's worse than that, sir. She's possessed of... Dolores practices strange rites up in her room. She's a voodoo, I tell you.
Oh, nonsense. This is going too far. And the whole house turned into bedlam. Really, nurse, Dolores is from Latin America. Just because she does things you don't understand doesn't make her a witch. It's all quite easily explained.
There's something going on in this house you can't explain so easy, no matter how you try.
What do you mean?
what I saw in the nursery this afternoon, just before she started into beating Jackie? Don't tell. You promised not to. Oh, for the love of heaven, don't tell.
Tina, be quiet. What did you find, miss?
I was out in the back hall warming the baby's bottle when all of a sudden I heard a loud cry, like he was in pain. I ran in. Was leaning over the baby. I screamed. She looked up, and there was blood on her face. She's a vampire. That's what she is, a vampire.
Thoroughly unsavory, Watson. Go on with the letter.
Ever since then, the nurse has guarded the child day and night. And day and night, the silent, watchful mother seems to be lying in wait as a wolf for a lamb. For the rest, she confines herself to her own room and will see none of us. I know this will all sound most fantastic to you, Mr. Holmes. Vampirism in the heart of Sussex. And yet I beg of you to take it seriously. If you would only come down and investigate the matter, a child's life and a man's sanity may depend upon it. Yours faithfully, Robert Ferguson.
Well, Watson, what do you make of it?
Well, it all sounds like a nightmare to me. Maybe the man himself is demented.
Possibly, Watson. Possibly. Suppose we visit Lamberley tomorrow afternoon to see if we can get to the bottom of this strange case. I've always wanted to meet a vampire.
Whatever. Close enough.
Ah, yes, that must be
Never
our client.
Never
Waiting at the
close
other end
enough.
of the platform.
Always
You
right on.
mean the long, slab-sided man with loose limbs and a splendid back? He looks prematurely aged.
An experience like this would add years to any man's looks. Ah, Mr. Robert Ferguson, I believe.
Yes, Mr. Holmes. I received your telegram. I can't begin to express my gratitude.
Oh,
Why,
that's so
this is my friend
frustrating.
and
I hate
colleague,
that.
Dr. Watson.
Oh, how do you do, sir?
I believe we've met before, Dr. Watson.
Oh, really?
Aren't you the same Watson who played rugby for Blackheath while I was three-quarter for Richmond?
Bobby Ferguson, why, of course.
Yes.
I'm delighted to see you again, old fellow. I never forget the day you threw me over the ropes and into the crowd at old Deer Park.
Yes. Well, time has changed us both. Whoever would have thought we would meet again under such tragic circumstances? But come, the carriage is waiting over here.
So, Watson, you played rugby, eh?
No, indeed he did. And a splendid athlete he was, too.
And see that? Full of surprises, Watson. There are unexplored possibilities about you.
Oh, now you're pulling my leg home.
Now, here's the carriage. Will you get in first, Mr. Holmes?
Thank you.
Now, Watson.
Righto.
That's right. And tuck this rug in around your knees, will you? The wind is getting rather brisk. Looks as though we'd have a storm before night. All right, Wilson. Let's get along.
Now then, Mr. Ferguson, if you don't object to a few personal questions.
No, anything. What can I do? I can't go to the police with such a story, and yet I must protect the children. Is it madness? Is it something in the blood? Have you ever had a similar case? Oh, for the love of heaven, give me advice. I'm at my wit's end.
Gently, Mr. Ferguson, gently. Now, just pull yourself together and give me a few clear answers. I can assure you that I am very far from being at my wit's end. First of all, have you spoken to your wife since the discovery?
No, Mr. Holmes. She refuses to see me. Her maid, Dolores, who's been with her since she was a child, is the only person she will see.
I gather that you did not know your wife well at the time of your marriage.
Only a few weeks.
Then your wife's character would be better known to her maid than to you.
I suppose so.
This unhappy lady has appeared to assault both the children, her own baby and your son.
Yes, she attacked Jackie again just day before yesterday.
But the assaults take different forms, do they not? She has beaten your own son.
Once with a stick and once very savagely with her hands.
The lady jealous by nature?
Well, she is an American. She has a fiery, tropical nature.
Quite. But the crippled boy, he's 15, I understand, and probably very bright mentally since his body isn't as active as other boys. Did he give any evidence of these assaults?
No, he declared there was no reason.
Were they good friends at other times?
No, there was never any love between them.
Yet you claim affectionate.
Well, I've never seen a more devoted son. He's absorbed in everything I say or do.
Most interesting. Were the attacks on the baby and your son the same period?
In the first case, yes. It was as if she were seized by some frenzy and had vented her rage on both. In the second, it was only Jackie who suffered. Possibly because nurse kept a strict watch over the baby.
I see.
Now, but here we are, Mr. Holmes. Cheesemans. The old houses in this part of the country are named after their original builders.
Yes, I see a rebus of a cheese and a man on the ancient tiles that line the porch. The middle section of your house is very old, Mr. Ferguson.
Yes, the wings are newer.
Very interesting building with its towering Tudor chimneys and its lichened spotted roofs.
If you will come in, sir, I offer you some refreshment.
That will be most welcome. My bones are chilled. Wind's rising. That storm can't be far off. Look at those clouds.
Well, he may as well have riders about carriers, eh?
Shut the door.
All right, all right.
That's better.
Georgia. Oh, Dolores.
Si, senor.
Dolores, bring some sandwiches, will you? And have the wind. It looks as though we're in for a storm.
Si, senor. I shut them after I order sandwich.
I shut
That
them
is your
up by
wife's maid, I
order
take it.
sandwich.
Yes.
Handsome girl, but a bit primitive, eh? I see your iron fire screen is dated 1670.
Oh, yes, we've got a great mixture of dates in this room. The half-panel walls may well have belonged to the original yeoman of the 17th century. And the watercolors hung along the lower part are obviously...
The collection of weapons and utensils nailed against the yellow plaster.
Those are the oldest of the lot. Inca Indian relics, I believe. No one knows how old they really are.
I see.
My wife brought them from Peru. This quiver, for instance.
Most enlightening. Most enlightening.
Hello. Hello, here comes Carlo. Well, how's the boy? Come here, boy. Come here. Hello.
What's the matter with the dog's hind legs?
Oh, that's what's puzzled the vet. It seems to be a sort of paralysis, spinal meningitis, he thought. Come here, boy. Come on. Ah, it seems to be passing off. You'll be all right soon, won't you, Carlo? Won't you, old boy? Won't you, boy?
He knows we're talking about him. Look at him thump his tail.
Did this paralysis come on suddenly?
In a single night.
How long ago?
Several months.
Very remarkable. Very suggestive.
What do you see in it, Mr. Holmes?
The confirmation of my suspicions.
What are your suspicions, Mr. Holmes? It's just an intellectual puzzle to you, but it's life and death to me. My wife's the victim of some terrible curse. My child is in danger. Oh, don't play with me, Mr. Holmes. It's all too horrible.
Calm yourself, my dear fellow. Keep a stiff upper lip. You may have to bear still greater pain, I fear, but I'll try to spare you as much as possible. I hope
Yes.
to have a solution before I leave this house tonight.
Thank you.
The storm has broken at last. I say, listen to the rain.
Yes. I got the shutters closed just in time.
Thunder, by Jove, at this time of the year.
It's a thoroughly bad night.
Sandwiches, senor.
Oh, yes. Come in, Dolores, and put them there on the table. Careful. Why, you almost put the tray. What's the matter, Dolores? Why, you look as if you'd seen a ghost.
I'm frightened. Listen, you hear that storm? The great dogs are around this house. My mistress, she very sick. She no take food. I'm frightened to stay with her without doctor. I should be glad if I could be of service.
Would your mistress see Dr. Watson?
I take him. I not ask leave. She need doctor. Oh, then I'll come at once.
You're sure you're not afraid? My wife may be really dangerous.
Oh, rubbish, Ferguson. I can take care of myself.
What you've a right to expect in clothes costing many dollars more is yours in Clippercraft at just a fraction of what you'd expect to pay. You get long wear that results in materials in good workmanship. You get good taste, correct styling as worn by the world's best-dressed men. And you get comfort and perfect fit from skilled designing and precision tailoring. American production genius applied to the making of clothes makes this possible. That and the unique Clippercraft plan concentrating the buying power of 924 of the nation's leading stores from coast to coast. You get the savings that result from this group buying at your own local independent store, at the store you can trust. Clippercraft suits are only $40 and $45. Clippercraft topcoats and overcoats are only $40. Selling expensive clothes at inexpensive low prices at the nation's finest independent stores is the great big idea behind the Clippercraft plan. That's why men who know insist on Clippercraft clothes. So be sure to Clippercraft store in your city.
The leading stores in the metropolitan area that bring you Clippercraft clothes are Saks 34th, Broadway at 34th Street, Manhattan, Abraham and Straus, Brooklyn, the Boulevard Men's Shop, Kresge, Newark, New Jersey, and the B&B Clothes Shop, 16408 Jamaica Avenue, Jamaica. These great, courteous, and friendly stores are proud to add their names to that of Clippercraft in the label of your suit, topcoat, sports jacket, and overcoat.
I wish Watson would come back. He's been half an hour.
He's all right. If anything had gone astray, I should have heard it. I've been listening.
Oh, so that's what you've been doing. You were so quiet, I thought you were dozing.
Wait. Something now. Listen.
I can't hear anything but the rain.
It's coming this way. Hear it?
Oh, yes, now I do. That's Jackie's cane, poor fellow. He's coming in here.
It's the spine that's weak. I can tell by the lip. Sight will do. Here he is.
Oh, Father, I didn't know you were back. I'd have been here to meet you. I thought you were in the store. I'm so glad to see you.
Gently, Jackie, please. Don't hug so tight. There, now that's better. We have company. This is Mr. Holmes.
Hello, Jack.
Sherlock Holmes, the detective?
That's right.
Oh,
Now that I've met your eldest son, Mr. Ferguson, may I make the acquaintance of the baby?
Why, certainly, Mr. Holmes, certainly. Wait till you see him. How anyone could have the heart to hurt him. The most beautiful baby.
So that's it.
What did you say? What's the matter? Why are you looking out the window like that? What do you see?
The solution of this crime.
Yes, but the windows are shuttered.
Quite.
Well, start.
Sorry?
Oh, not at all. My nerves are a bit on edge. This situation and the storm. Jackie, go upstairs. That's a good fellow. And ask nurse to bring the baby down here, will you?
yes, Father.
Has it ever occurred to you, Mr. Ferguson, that this story about your wife's peculiarities might have made up by the nurse to get revenge on her for some slight...
Oh, impossible. In the first place, I saw her beat the boy with my own eyes.
Yes, but the other...
No. Unfortunately, I feel that must be the truth, too. Nurse is a good woman with plenty of common sense. I'm sure she'd never have told me if she'd not felt it were necessary to protect me.
Yes, I thought so. However, we were bound to consider every possibility. You never know.
Help! She's killing him!
Hello, what's up?
Hurry, Holmes! Hurry!
Coming, old chap, coming.
Oh, this is terrible.
What's up? What's happened?
Mrs. Ferguson, her bedroom door was open. She saw the boy go into the nursery. Quick as a flash, she was out of bed and into the other room.
Oh, it's awful. There was Becky standing beside the crib playing with the baby when she comes in, raging like a tiger, shoves him aside, snatches up the baby, and dashes into her own room before you can win.
Oh, quick. We must get the baby away from her.
The door's locked. We can't get in.
Break it down, then. Help me, Watson. 1, 2... Stop! Get out of the way, Dolores.
You know, or I shoot.
Tina, look at her. She's got the baby.
In heaven's name, don't take the baby away from me. Please don't take it.
Stand back, you'll not touch her.
Go ahead and shoot. I'm going to save my baby.
Easy, Ferguson, easy. Dolores, do you mind pointing that revolver in some other direction? I know your intentions are good, but your nerves are a trifle unsteady.
Look at my...
Mr. Ferguson, it seems to me that your wife is a very good and a very ill-used woman.
How can you stand there and say that? Look at her. Blood on her lips. She's killing him.
Has it ever occurred to you that a wound may be sucked for some other purpose than to draw blood from it? What do you mean? To draw poison from it. Your wife has been risking her own life to save your child. Poison? Quite. A South American household, there's weapons on the walls. When I saw that empty quiver, I was sure. If the child were pricked by one of those arrows dipped in curare or some other devilish drug, it would mean death if the venom were not sucked out.
You mean Tina's life? I say, of course. Why, it's quite obvious.
And the dog. If one were going to use such a poison, wouldn't it be wise to first try it on the dog to make sure it hadn't lost its power?
Why, yes. But who could have done it? I don't understand.
If I tell you, I must wound you very deeply in another direction.
Oh, no. No, you must not tell him. You must.
Darling, what does it matter as long as you're cleared? Don't you understand? Nothing else matters.
Oh, Robert.
Why? Why didn't you tell me?
Your wife knew how much you loved your other son. She was afraid it would break your heart.
Jackie? My Jackie.
You must not be sad. He's jealous just to for it.
Yes. Yes, we'll help him. Together. Oh, my darling, I'm so glad it wasn't you.
Oh, I'm so happy.
Oh, there, darling.
Oh, there, darling.
Come, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Your work is finished.
Hey,
They don't know
Kitty,
me.
Yes, but, Holmes, don't you think we ought to...
And the door is right. Come along, Watson. At this particular moment, we're decidedly de trop. Why, that's a pretty harrowing story, Dr. Watson. Did Jackie recover his mental balance?
Oh, yes, indeed, Mr. Harris. They sent him around the world with a good tutor. Sierra, marvelous for adolescent nerves.
Yes, Doctor, but how did Holmes know it was the boy?
You remember his saying he saw the solution of the crime in the shuttered window pane? Well, Mr. Harris, what he really saw was the reflection of the boy's face when his father affectionately mentioned the baby. Holmes caught a glimpse of such jealousy and cruel hatred as one seldom sees on a human face.
Well, Dr. Watson, that certainly is a thrilling story, and you certainly know how to tell it.
To paraphrase my friend Sherlock Holmes, elementary, my dear Mr. Harris. Elementary.
And what story are we to have next week, Dr. Watson?
Well, next week I think I'd tell you how Holmes and I spent the Christmas holidays at Pendragon Castle and became involved with a ghostly lady in white, the honor of the Nevilles, and a Fortress who, quite unexpectedly, sang bass. It was a brisk fall day rather early in the century. After a good deal of argument, I had persuaded Holmes to accompany me on a constitutional through Kensington Gardens. As our listeners doubtless know, Holmes was never a man who took exercise if he could avoid it.
Lethargic sort of fellow, eh, Dr. Watson?
Well, not necessarily. Needless to say, when we returned to Baker Street somewhere around 5, I was the one who was pumping like a grampus, while Holmes bounded up the steps as easily as a greyhound. We were met at the front door by Mrs. Hudson, the chatelaine and general factotum of our bachelor domain.
Ah, Mrs. Hudson, what's up?
It's way past your tea time, Mr. Holmes.
Oh, to places with tea, madam. Give us an early supper.
What's more, a gentleman was here. Waited upstairs half an hour, he did. Stamping up and down on my ceiling till I thought the chandelier would come loose.
Sounds like a client, eh, Watson?
Miss Holmes, the exchequer is getting a bit low.
Bother the exchequer.
For heaven's sake, Holmes, relax. We're home, you know.
He said it'd be back. If it's a case, see that he pays. Looks like he had money.
Yes, Mrs. Hudson's correct. Our late visitor undoubtedly had money.
He got away. But what makes you think the blighter was affluent?
Can't you smell it? He smoked the very best tobacco. The matter he came to consult us about must have been urgent. He's left his pipe here on the table. A nice briar with a longish stem of what the tobacconists fondly call amber. Yes, he must have been thoroughly disturbed to leave behind a pipe he values so highly.
Oh, bother dash, how can you possibly know how he values his silly pipe?
Elementary, my dear Watson, elementary. The pipe has been twice mended, once in the wooden stem and once in the amber, each time with a silver band costing more than the pipe did originally. What's more, he's been here before because, having run out of his own mixture, he's helped himself to a pipeful from the Persian slipper on the mantelpiece. Casual stranger would know that's where I keep my tobacco. Nobody here's his step upstairs. Come in, come in. Confound it, man. Why don't you stay at home where you belong?
Holmes, it's Colonel Ross.
Obviously, my dear Watson. Bring our visitor a chair and a slight sedative of some sort. Say a brandy and soda.
I don't need a brandy. Yes, I do, confound it, a double brandy.
But don't tell me you've had another disaster on the moors at King's Island.
We have that, Mr. Holmes, but this time it's not a man that's been murdered. It's a horse.
Worse. Much worse.
Let me tell you, there aren't many men the equal of Blazing Star.
Good Lord. Blazing Star. Isn't that your entry for the Wessex Cup, sir?
It was, Dr. Watson, it was.
Aha. Blazing Star. Watson was reading a blaze out of Lady Luck.
You were able to rescue his sire for me, Mr. Holmes.
Time to win the Wessex Cup. What a race that was, eh, Holmes?
But it's too late to do anything for poor Blazing Star. But by the Lord Harry, I mean to catch up with the scoundrel that killed her. And when I do,
I've always contended there's a special reservation in the lowest hell for any man who mistreats animals.
Yes, quite. But tell me exactly what happened at King's Island, Colonel Ross.
You remember Ned Hunter, Mr. Holmes? He was in charge of the stable at the time Silver Blaze was abducted.
Yes, fine fellow, reliable and trustworthy.
He's been promoted to the post of trader since you last saw him, but he still sleeps in the stable, doesn't trust anyone else to do it.
Blazing Star, like his sire before him, was the favorite for the Wessex Cup, I believe.
That's right, Mr. Holmes. So Ned was being extra particular. None of the stable boys were allowed to go near the horse. Ned groomed and exercised him in the animal.
Can't take too many precautions with a winner, eh, Holmes?
Down to the stables myself to watch Blazing Star work out. I wish you could have seen him. The sunshine glinting on his chestnut coat like a fiery streak he was coming down the stretch. Never went better in his life. Well, I went into supper and cleared a place off the mantel, the same place we kept the Wessex Cup when Silver Blaze won it. Then I went to bed and slept the sleep of the just. But along about 2 o'clock in the morning, I was awakened by Ned Hunter. As I lit the lamp, I could see his face, white as a sheet. His hand shook as though he had the palsy. Ned, what's up? What's the matter, man?
It's the Star, sir. He's took bad. Better go for the vet.
Good Lord. What happened? He seemed in great shape this afternoon.
I can't explain it, sir. Unless it was that cat upset him. You know how he always hated cats.
What cat? We don't keep any cats.
Well, a black cat it was, sir. Can't say I've ever seen it before. But when I was taking in his bunch of carrots I always gives him before I tucks him in for the night, a black cat comes out of nowhere and slips into the store between my legs.
Good Lord.
Well, sir, you know how the Star is about cats. He started stamping and whinnying like he was possessed. Hey, you, Timmy, Joe, help me get this cat out of here before she's killed. Oh, easy, Star. Easy boy now. Easy, Star. Did you see that cat? Come out of here like a bat out of hell. Eyes blazing like the devil himself. Hello. She's swinged the Star on the flank. She's drawn blood. Easy, boy. Easy. Hey, Timmy, bring the ointment. The Star's hurt.
Well, Mr. Holmes, Ned Hunter swabbed down the scratch and tried to quiet the horse, but Star was restless. Long about midnight, Ned noticed his breathing was getting heavy and labored. He worked up quite a sweat. He's a new man in the district and supposed to know. When I brought him back with me, Ned looked like a ghost. Ned, this is Mr. Peebles, the new veterinary surgeon. He'll bring Star around for us.
I'm afraid Star's past help, sir. I've never seen the like. Just seemed to collapse in front of my eyes. His back sort of sagged and his knees gave way. Pretty soon he couldn't stand up no more. He's lying in there on the floor, pretty near gone.
You'd better take Mr. Peebles right in, Ned.
Yes, sir. This way, sir.
Confound it. If anything happens to that horse. He was so fit this afternoon. Lord, it's quiet around here. If I could just hear the old boy breathing. 3 o'clock. Where do you suppose that blasted cat came from? Rubbish. No one dies from a cat scratch. I've had any cats around here for years. Certainly not the black cats. Well, Mr. Peebles, how is he? What's the verdict?
Sorry, Colonel Ross. He's gone, sir. Died very quietly of old age.
impossible, Holmes. The Wessex Cup is a race.
Blazing Star was 5-year-old last month. Yet when I look at his body as it lay there in this stall, I'd have sworn he was the oldest horse I'd ever seen. Temples caved in, coat dry and greyish, protruding.
You don't think anyone could have switched horses while Ned Hunter came to inform you the horse was taken sick?
No, Mr. Holmes, I'd no Blazing Star anywhere. The star on the forehead he'd inherited from his father. The white off forefoot and a long scar on his left hind leg where he cut himself on a bit of wire when he was a 2-year-old. That horse was Star full 5 years ago last month. He couldn't have died of old age.
Fantastic and macabre story, Holmes?
Quite. Many people, of course, will profit by his death. Have there been any strangers in the neighborhood of King's Python these last few weeks, Colonel Ross?
There has been a band of wandering gypsies camping on the moors.
Of course. Gypsies have many curious and little-known poisons. They'd be quite apt to keep a black cat, what's more. If his claws had been dipped.
Possibly. Tell me, Colonel Ross, what's become of your erstwhile neighbor and rival Lord Backwater, who owned the Mapleton stables?
That blackguard. Haven't seen him since Silver Blaze. He was ruled off the turf after that, you know, and forced to sell his horses.
Serves him jolly well right.
Mapleton has been unoccupied until recently. About a month ago, I understand it was leased to a professor, an Egyptologist, I believe. He's a recluse. Spends most of his time in a laboratory, fixed up for himself in the old study. Matty Baxter, our maid sister, keeps house. Says he's a queer sort of a chap. Works behind locked doors all night and sleeps all day.
Unhealthy sort of life, eh, Holmes?
Yes, there are several factors around King's Python that Colonel Ross, I suggest that Watson and I take the morning train for Exeter to investigate the situation.
I hoped you'd say that, Mr. Holmes. I've told of Star's body until you arrive.
Splendid.
I suppose you want me my revolver, eh, Holmes?
Your revolver and that little black satchel that contained your medical kit. This, unless I'm very much mistaken, is a case in which we should be prepared for anything. Well, Watson, now that you've finished a thorough examination of the cadaver, what's your verdict?
The bet was right, Holmes. The horse obviously died of old age.
But I tell you that's impossible. Bear me out. That's right, gentlemen. Horse doesn't die of old age. The only one, neither. Good Lord. Don't tell me another one. It's not one of the horses, sir. It's the sheep. I know when I went out to the paddock after you left this morning. They stood there all huddled together, shivering. Then gradually, all day long, they kept getting older and older. You could fair see them do it. Their eyes are rheumy, and their voices weak. And, some of them can hardly keep on their feet. But those sheep were young. Most of them were dropped in this year's lambing season. What do you make of it, Dr. Watson? Have you ever heard of old age being contagious?
No, there have been isolated cases, Colonel Ross, where young and healthy individuals have developed a wasting away that rather resembles the appearance of age. However, I'd hardly think it possible.
Hold on. Who's this running across the moors in the sunset?
Looks like a woman. Her hair flying loose, her shawl flapping in the wind.
And she's staggering as if she were drunk. Her that works over at Mapleton.
She's not suffering from the effects of alcohol. It's fright that's upset her. It's sheer terror.
Colonel Ross! Colonel Ross! Will you take him this night? I'm never going back. I'm never going back to that house again. I knew he was evil the minute I laid eyes on the man, and now I've seen him. He's a butcher, he is. He's a ghoul.
Who is Matty?
The master, him at the least Mapleton. He's filled the house full of heathen statues. The lower part man and the upper part beast.
Those would be the statues of the ancient Egyptian gods. Ra, the hawk, Anubis, the dog, and Bast, the cat, I fancy.
Bast, that's what he calls her. The black cat that rides everywhere with him on his shoulder. Their eyes are alike. Him and the cat's both green. And they both can look at you without even blinking. Only his head moves from side to side while he stares at you.
What's that?
I said his head. It don't never hold still. He's a ghoul, that's what he is. They've been bringing him boxes for weeks now. 6 boxes, big like coffins. A lorry drives up in the dead of night and they carry the box into his study and he locks the door behind it. That's the never seen of them boxes or what's in them.
You've never seen any traces when you go in to clean the study?
I've never been allowed in. No one's ever been allowed in that study except the man who brings the boxes, and then only for a minute while he puts them down. Today, the men come with another box, only they brought it before it was dark. The master fell in a rage when he saw him drive up. When they brought the box in and set it down in the study, he was that worked up, there were flecks of foam on his lips.
You idiot. told you not to come here by daylight.
Have a heart, Governor. The sun's about down and there's a storm coming up. Me and me partner have a long way to drive down. We don't like to be caught in the moors in a storm at night.
Oh, you don't? Well, this is the last time you need come here. People who work for me obey my orders.
Aye, but Governor...
Get your pay. Now, get out.
We'll be going. Never fear.
That?
Oh, he's a terror when he gets in one of his rages.
Oh, there. You work here.
Aye, I'm the housemaid.
Know what it is he's got in them boxes we bring him?
Haven't a notion. That room's always kept locked.
He never so much as looked through the keyhole.
Oh, I'd never do that. It's not right.
Maybe not, but I bet it'd be interesting. Aye. Hey, Chris, we'll be caught on the moors out of dark. Aye.
He's lit the lamp in there. It shows through the keyhole. He's taken the lid off the box. I can hear the nails squeak. I would sort of like to know what's in it. One peek wouldn't hurt, I guess. Hello, there's another box inside of the first one. It's got a painted face and hands. Now he's taken that lid off, too. There's something lying inside. It's got a face, too, and hands. Oh! It's a woman. She's dead. It's a woman's body.
Great Scott. A woman's body? Then the man is a ghoul, a body snatcher. Worse?
Unless I'm very much mistaken, he's much worse, Colonel Ross. As for the body, I imagine it's been dead a long, long time. Yes, I think Watson and I will take us over to Mapleton later this evening. I'd like to take a look at the contents of that box myself.
What a night to go stalking about the moors, Holmes. I'm soaked to the skin.
Yes, the equinoctial rains seem to be especially vigorous this year, Watson.
Vigorous, I can hardly...
That, I imagine, is a member of the feline or cat family.
Sounds half wild, eh, Holmes?
It's unusual for a cat to be out in this weather.
Seems to be getting closer.
Dangle the lantern over here. Yes, there it is, in that tree to the left.
Good Lord. Its eyes shine like fire. Maybe she's caught up there and can't get down. Here, Pussy.
Watson, for the love of heaven, don't get near that cat.
Why not?
Because one scratch from her claws, and you would decline and die of old age.
You? Professor Moriarty?
You look surprised to see me, Dr. Watson. I heard you were expected at King's Pilot, Holmes, and when that stupid serving girl ran screaming out of my house this evening, it wouldn't be long before you came over to Mapleton to pay your respects to the Princess Hatshepsut.
Princess Hatshepsut. So that's who you have in your latest mummy.
Yes, in the most perfect state of preservation, but of absolutely no use to me, unfortunately.
Why not?
She was still slender when she died. The artisans who unbound her didn't need to age the body to prepare it for burial.
Age the body?
You ever seen a fat mummy, Dr. Watson?
Come to think of it, can't say I have.
In ancient Egypt, it took upward of 70 days to prepare the body of a mummy. Rare gums, resins, and spices were used. And if the deceased was fat, a fluid was injected which aged and shriveled the body after death.
And it's your theory, no doubt, Moriarty, would, if injected into human beings, produce premature old age.
Experimented with animals. But I believe this has been sufficiently perfected so that I may now indulge in a few human experiments. How fortunate that you and Dr. Watson should have decided to drop in this evening.
Holmes, let's get out of here.
Not so fast, Dr. Watson. My servant Akbar has had you covered for some time. He's an expert shot, I promise you.
Bluff. Pure bluff. Can't see a soul.
Akbar is right. Show up very well at night, but to prove to you he is present, I shall have to destroy the cat up there.
No, don't bother.
But it's no trouble at all. We came out here for that purpose. Unfortunately, yesterday I spilled some of the liquid I'm experimenting with, and the cat walked in it. It's no longer safe to have it at large. You saw the result when she scratched Colonel Ross's horse last night. You see, I don't want to kill people. I shall be satisfied just to make them senile.
Why, you blackguard.
Don't excite yourself, Dr. Watson. Akbar, the cat. Such a pity. I was rather fond of the beast. Now, gentlemen, if you will accompany me.
When you're in your favorite clothing store these winter days and hear someone say, how do they do it? He's probably trying on a Clippercraft suit or overcoat. Because in this era of higher prices, it's really startling to see so much truly fine quality in clothes for such a modest amount. For Clipper, $40 and $45. Clippercraft top coats are only $40 and sport jackets are only $26.50. The fabrics are really long-wearing, style and fit is superb because Clippercraft clothes are expertly designed. Now, you may ask how all this is possible. Well, the answer and a plan. The famous Clippercraft plan combines the buying power of 1,036 of the nation's finest stores from coast to coast. Thus, you get the amazing advantages of the group buying at your own local independent store, at the store you can trust. Selling expensive clothes at inexpensive low prices at the nation's finest independent stores is the great big idea behind the Clippercraft plan. That's why men who know insist on Clippercraft clothes. So be sure to visit the Clippercraft store in your city.
These leading stores in the metropolitan area are proud to add their suit, top coat, and overcoat. In Manhattan, Saks at 34th, John Wanamaker Men's Stores, Broadway at 8th and 67 Liberty Street. In Brooklyn, Abraham and Strauss. In Newark, New Jersey, Boulevard Men's Shop. And in Jamaica, the B&B Clothes Shop, 16408.
And now to return to Dr. Watson and Sherlock Holmes. We find them in Moriarty's laboratory.
Sorry I'm forced to have Akbar tie your hands to the back of your chairs, gentlemen. Akbar, if you will remove Dr. Watson's revolver from his right-hand pocket. That's it. Oh, you needn't take his satchel off his knees. I know how lost it feels without his little black bag.
Very generous of you, Moriarty.
Not at all. That will be all, Akbar. You may leave the room and lock the door. And now, the Hatshepsut. She's in the mummy case here. I thought you might enjoy the sight of a charming female while I give you the injection that will deprive you of your youth and vigor.
Now look here, Dr. Watson. Is that by any chance, Professor Moriarty, the mummy case in which the Princess Hatshepsut was...
So, she was removed from the tombs of the royal mummies at Dar el-Bahari.
By those famous grave robbers, the brothers Abd el-Rasul, whose exploits finally led the British archaeologists to the left bank of the Nile opposite Karnak.
But how clever of you, Mr. Holmes, to be so well...
Holmes knows everything.
On the other hand, while no mental mastodon has hidden possibilities, did you know, Professor, he once played rugby for Blackheath?
Fascinating.
I gather from the fact that the mummy case has the hands carved in relief that it dates from the 7th Theban dynasty.
You are absolutely correct, Mr. Holmes. Wait, I will read it and permit you to see the lady herself.
Good Lord.
Dr. Watson, the mummies of Memphis are black, dry, and brittle, but those of Thebes are yellowish, flexible, and so elastic that the flesh yields to the touch, and the limbs may be moved. So.
Yes, it's remarkable. I should have liked to be present when they discovered the tomb at Dar el-Bahari. Imagine, Watson, there were 36 mummies, 20 of them king.
Dispense with any further lectures on antiquity, Mr. Holmes. The substance I have here in this little glass vial may prove even more fascinating.
How?
Now, this is the liquid I've distilled from 5 previous mummies. The ones who have been, shall we say, aged. One small scratch with a pin dipped in this fluid should, if my calculations are correct, turn you both into old men.
What would be the object of that, may I ask?
In the first place, it would render you no longer able to interrupt my activities. And in the second place, if my experiment is successful, I flatter myself I can change the course of history.
Interesting.
Think what would happen if I were to make certain men senile,
The Kaiser, for instance, and that new American president, Roosevelt, Mr. Theodore Roosevelt. Over in France, Monsieur Clemenceau. And the young man right here in England, his name is Winston Churchill. I think history might be quite different if he suddenly became old and feeble-minded. Let me see. My tie pin should do very nicely.
Yes, a very interesting hypothesis, Professor Moriarty, but that file is so small,
It will suffice, Mr. Holmes. I shall prick only the key man. Now then, I'll dip in the pin, so, and stuck! Confound you! You've broken the fire!
Bravo, Watson. A perfectly placed dropkick. I wondered if it would occur to you to use your little black bag for a football. Well, that was a narrow squeak, Dr. Watson. It was indeed, Mr. Harris. But even then, you were still tied to those chairs. How did you and Sherlock Holmes get away from the professor, Doctor? Oh, at that point, Mr. Harris, Colonel Ross and Ned Hunter broke in and rescued us. We left them on the moors with instructions in half an hour. Why did you think Holmes became so chatty about Egyptian history? You don't mean he was stalling? What do you think, Mr. Harris? What do you think? Well, what could I think, Doctor? And now, Dr. Watson, how about giving us a hint about next week's story? Yes, next week, I think, the case of the Lucky Shilling. In it, Holmes prevented the death of a certain reckless young nobleman and acquired the money to pay for a much-needed operation. It was done with the not-too-honest racetrack device, which Holmes called the trick of the Lucky Shilling. The makers of Clippercraft clothes and 1036 leading stores from coast to coast have brought you another in the new series of broadcasts featuring the world's most famous detective, Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes is produced and directed by Basil Lochran. Special music by Albert Berman. If you don't know your Clippercraft dealer, right 5th Avenue, New York City. Be sure to listen next week to Sherlock Holmes in the case of Lucky Shilling. And now, Dr. Watson, how about that stolen neighbor treaty? Yes, let's see. One July morning, it was the July which immediately succeeded my marriage. I received a communication from an old school friend, Percy Phelps. Percy's mother's brother was Lord Holhurst, the great conservative politician. The relationship was of little value to him when we were at school, I can assure you. However, the letter seemed to be fairly urgent, so I hurried around to Baker Street. I found Holmes in his dressing gown, plunged in the middle of a chemical investigation. A large curved retort was boiling furiously in the bluish flame of a Bunsen burner. Seeing the look of concentration on Holmes' face, I seated myself in my old armchair and waited, hardly daring to breathe. Most enlightening. Most enlightening. Yes, you come at a crisis, Watson. If this slip of paper remains blue when it touches the solution, all will be well. If it turns red, it means a man's life. I say... Shh, don't interrupt, Watson. This is the crucial moment. Now watch carefully. There. But I say, it has burned red, a nasty blood red. Blood red is quite correct, Watson. A very commonplace murder. Well, that's the end of that little experiment. Hi-ho, fill up your pipe. Then hand me the Persian slipper. All right. There you are. So you've come on business, Watson. Yes, but how did you know? The letter touched so tightly in your right hand, not to mention the look of excitement and anxiety on your face. You are the stormy petrel of crime, Watson. What is it?
This letter, it came in the morning mail.
Read it to me, that's a good chap.
It's from an old schoolfellow of mine. I haven't seen him for years.
Yes, but what does he say?
The letter is headed Briar-Bray, Woking. My dear Watson, I trust you still remember Tadpole Phelps, who was in the 4th form when you were in the 3rd. You may even have heard that through my uncle's influence, I obtained a good appointment at the Foreign Office, where I was in a situation of trust until a horrible misfortune suddenly blasted the rear. Do you think you could persuade your friend Sherlock Holmes to come down here to help solve this terrible mess? Assure him that the only reason I have not asked advice sooner was because I have been completely off my head for 9 weeks. I have to write by dictating, as you see. Your Percy Phelps.
Let me see that letter. Doesn't tell us very much, does it?
Oh, hardly anything.
Yet the writing is of interest.
But it's not his own.
Precisely. It's a woman's.
But it looks like a man's.
No, it's a woman's, and a woman of unusually strong character. It's always interesting to know that your client is in close contact with someone who, for good or evil, has an exceptional nature. Yes, my interest is already awakened in the matter.
Then you will take the case?
The next train for Woking leaves in exactly 43 minutes. Hurry, Watson, or we shall miss it.
If you'll step in here, gentlemen, I'll find out if Mr. Phelps can see you.
Dear, dear. The old place hasn't changed since the days when I used to visit here on my vacations. Makes me feel quite young again.
Sherlock Holmes, I perceive. And Dawson, too, I presume. So glad you could come. Percy's been inquiring for you all morning. Poor chap. He clings to any straw.
My dear man, I may look as thin as a straw, but I promise you I have more weight mentally. I perceive you yourself are not a member of the family.
Oh, dear me. How did you know?
The monogram on the pocket of your blazer, J.H.
Of course, of course. For a moment, I thought you had done something clever. My name is Harrison, Joseph Harrison. Percy is engaged to marry my sister Annie. So I shall soon be a relation, by marriage at any rate. My sister is with him now. She's nursed him hand and foot during these trying 2 months.
Soothing his fevered brow, eh, lucky fellow?
Yes. You'll find them in his room. My room, rather. At least it used to be my room until he came home after the catastrophe and collapsed. They couldn't carry him upstairs. He was in such a state, so they took him into my room. We'd better go in at once. I know how impatient he is to see you.
Yes, this conversation is delightful, but after all, we did come to see Mr. Phelps.
Oh, yes, yes. Quite so. Come this way. It's in this swing, next to the dining room, you see. This is the door. I'll leave you here.
You can come in if you like.
Oh, no, thank you, no. Invalids are always depressing, and with this misfortune hanging over his head, oh, poor fellow.
Very well.
Come in. Oh, you've come at last. At least, I presume this is Sherlock Holmes.
Quite. And how is your patient?
Oh, he's much better, thank you.
Watson, my dear fellow.
Well, Terry Badger,
Hello.
glad to see you.
I hardly knew you under that moustache. Delighted to see you both. Oh, this is my fiancée, Miss Harris. Please, sit down.
Shall I leave, Percy?
Oh, no, don't go, Annie. If you don't mind, Mr. Holmes.
Not at all.
I feel much steadier when she's here.
Quite. And now, Mr. Phelps.
Well, you see, Mr. Holmes, it's like this. I was a happy and successful man, on the eve of being married, and then this dreadful misfortune wrecked my life. I'm a broken man, my honor gone, I'm ruined.
Percy, please, you'll make yourself ill again.
I'm sorry, Annie.
Perhaps you'd better just tell us the facts as quietly as you can.
Yes, of course, Mr. Holmes. I was, as Watson may have told you, in the Foreign Office, in a responsible position. My uncle, Lord Holdhurst, is the Foreign Minister, you know. Well, nearly 8 years ago, weeks rather, the 23rd of May to be exact, he called me into his private room and informed me that he had a commission of trust for me to execute.
Come in. Come in. Oh, it's you, Percy. Anyone out there in the hall?
No, sir.
Good. Come in and lock the door. Now, come over here. I want to make sure we can't be overheard. That's it.
What's up, Uncle Ed? You look tremendously solemn.
It's a solemn matter, Percy. You see this piece of paper?
It's a secret treaty covering our naval situation in the Mediterranean. Harmless enough in itself, but a bombshell if it should fall into the hands of, well, a certain government.
You mean?
The very war we have years, Percy. Let us merely say the country of X. You understand?
I understand.
I want you to make a copy of it. I must have a complete copy by tomorrow morning. You may have to work on it the better part of the night.
Oh, that's all right, sir. Joseph and his brother, you know, is going to stop by for me. We're going to take the 9 o'clock train together. He can tell.
Well, but leave the message with the commissioner downstairs. I don't want anyone in your room when you're copying that document.
Sir?
When you've finished, you can put the document and the copy in my safe. You know the combination, I believe?
Certainly.
That's all, Percy. But don't forget, you hold the piece of Europe in your hands.
I won't forget. Good night, Uncle Bert.
Good night.
Well, looks as though I'll have to make a night of it. I hope. Well, hello, Connor. You still here?
Yes, sir. I had some tales to clear up, so I thought you'd meet me.
No, thanks. Doesn't look as though I have a chance to go out for dinner. At least I can ring for coffee. Oh, confound it, that bell pull is twisted again. There we are. Rain. Nice, jolly little evening this is.
I can do, Mr. Phelps.
Good Lord, no, Goddard. Run along. Good night, sir. Good night, Goddard. Hello? Who in thunder are you?
I'm the commissioner's wife, sir. What's more, I'm the char lady around here.
The child lady? Oh, I see. I don't believe I've ever had the pleasure of making your acquaintance before.
No, sir, that you haven't. If you mean what I think you do.
Oh, would you inquire if your esteemed spouse would spare me a cup of the excellent coffee he keeps hot for any pay slaves of the Empire who are obliged to work at night?
You mean Herbie should bring you up a cup of coffee?
Yes, please.
I'll see what I can do about it.
Yes, use your influence. Well, let's have a look at that treaty. Great Britain, a triple alliance. Yes. French fleet, a complete ascendancy. Oh. It's no use. I'm too drowsy. Oh. I think I better have a cup of coffee. Herbert! I say, Herbert, coffee! Oh, just all the way downstairs. Herbert! Fast asleep. Herbert, wake up.
Hello. Oh, it's you, Mr. Phelps.
Yes, I came down to see if my coffee was ready. But I think the front doorbell just rang.
Bell? Yes, sir. But if you was here, who rang that bell?
What bell? I told you it was the...
It's the bell of the room you was working in, sir.
It's under my bell, but there's no one up there. The treaty. Oh, good heavens, I left it on the table. Quick, Herbert, we've got to get up there. Something terrible is happening.
Oh,
Sir, pray God, it's not too late. Wait, I'll open the door.
I've got my army revolver.
What? Look, the treaty. The treaty's gone. Oh, who could have done it?
No one's been in the front way tonight, sir. And there was no one in the rooms but yourself. My wife says so.
Then he must have come up the stairs from the side door and slipped out that way, too. Get after him quickly. It may not be too late. Hurry, man, hurry.
Don't you go out, sir. You'll be...
There's a policeman on the corner. Maybe he's seen something. I say, Bobby. Sir? There's been a robbery in the Foreign Office. Has anyone passed this way?
It's standing here a quarter of an hour, sir, and only one living soul's passed in that time.
Who was it?
A tall old lady in a paisley shawl. She seemed in a hurry.
Well, that was my wife.
Which way did she go?
You're just wasting your time, sir, and every minute is of importance.
Yes, all right. We'll go back and phone Scotland Yard. Oh, this is terrible, Heaven, terrible. We're ruined.
Never you mind, sir. You'll lose your post, perhaps, but they can't do nothing so dreadful to you.
It's not myself I'm thinking of. It's England. Well, Scotland Yard were waiting for the charwoman when she got home.
And what did they find?
Nothing, absolutely nothing.
And Goro, did they trace him?
Yes, Mr. Holmes, but again nothing was found. Frantic, out of my mind. They had to get a doctor to take me home. I was delirious.
And these two people, Goro and the charwoman, they've been under observation ever since, I suppose?
Yes, with no results.
You say it had been raining all evening?
Yes,
But you found no traces of any kind in the room? No footprints, I mean?
absolutely none.
Not even those of the muddy boots? How do you explain that?
Well, the charwomen are in the habit of taking off their boots and wearing just carpet slippers.
No footprints, eh? That's enlightening. Must have come in a cab and got away that way, too.
That explains the policeman's not seeing her.
Now then, Mr. Phelps. Or in the corridor.
Impossible. There was no cupboard of any kind.
And it must have been the side door. Would have the treaty in your possession.
No one. I'd stake my oath on that.
In your opinion, what would happen if those papers were to fall into the hands of a rival government?
War. Almost instantaneously.
But it's 8 weeks and we're not at war. Therefore, it's not unfair to suppose the treaty hasn't reached them.
I don't imagine the thief took the treaty in order to frame it.
Quite. And undoubtedly waiting for a better price. There's only one clue that puzzles me.
What is that?
The bell. Did someone ring it to prevent the crime, or was it an accident? If we only knew why the bell was rung, we should have the solution of this case. It's even possible that he didn't. Of course, of course. What a fool I was not to think of that before.
You think you can help me?
Possibly, possibly.
God bless you for that, Mr. Holmes. If we can keep our courage, it must come out. But Percy has one more adventure to tell you about. Enough, darling.
Oh, I feel better than I have for days. Hope is a splendid tonic, Annie.
And what was this other incident, Mr. Phelps?
Well, you see, Mr. Holmes, last night was the very first night that I've slept without a nurse in my rooms. I was rather wakeful. I had a nightmare or two. And suddenly, I heard a slight noise.
What kind of noise?
Like a mouse gnawing a plank. It grew louder, and all at once there was a sharp metallic snick.
Someone forcing the window.
Yes, I realized that too. I jumped out of bed and flung open the shutters. A man was crouching in the window. He was gone like a flash.
What did he look like?
I don't really know. He was wrapped in some sort of cloak which had come across the... I am sure of. He had a long weapon in his hand that looked like a knife. After him.
And then?
Then I was... The next thing I knew, I was surrounded by the entire household. The groom found marks in the flower bed outside this window. You can see them from where you sit.
Dear me, yes, I'm afraid Joseph and the groom have been a bit too energetic for me to learn anything from the traces. The flower beds as if it had been trampled on by an army.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Why should a burglar, if it was a burglar, choose to enter this room? The dining room windows are much larger and more accessible.
I can't imagine unless it's a plot against Percy.
Oh, that sounds a bit melodramatic, Annie.
Not at all. There's something in what Miss Harrison says. So much that Dr. Watson and I will take you up to London with us.
Yes, but he's not very strong, you know.
The trip to London will not be nearly so dangerous to your fiancé, Miss Harrison, as another night in this room.
Good heavens.
And another thing, Miss Harrison, you can be very helpful to us and to Mr. Phelps if you'll do one thing for me. It may take courage, but I think I can promise that you'll be in no great personal danger.
What is it you want me to do?
Stay in this room until you go to bed tonight. Don't leave it for an instant. Mr. Phelps' reputation and my whole future may depend on it. I'm not going to ask you to sleep here, but when you leave for the night, I want you to lock the bedroom door on the outside.
Yes, but look here. Something might happen.
Not a word to anyone. It's for his sake, remember.
Come in.
Lunch, everybody. Something especially nice for you, Percy. Come along, Annie.
Oh, Joseph, if you'll excuse me, I have a slight headache. I think I'll eat in here by myself. There's a breeze, and I want to be alone.
I can't say I enjoy cross-country walks in the middle of the night, Watson.
I thought we were going to London. That's what you told everybody. We get on the train with Percy and the nurse, and then we get off at the next station and leave Percy and the nurse to go up to London alone. Doesn't make sense.
Stop fussing. He'll be all right. I sent him on to Baker Street. With any luck, we should be there ourselves in time to have breakfast with him.
Yes, but why sneak back to Briarbrae like this?
Not so loud. There's the house now. You can see its gables in the moonlight. Follow me here, through the hedge.
Yes, but why the hedge when the gate's open?
Not so loud. We've got to get as near to the house as possible without being seen.
I say those ghostly-looking white strips of it over there in the meadow. See, look. The lamp is still lit in in Joseph's room. Miss Harrison must have kept her promise.
Shh. Yes. There she is, reading a book. Now she's put it down. She's picking up the lamp.
I say, Holmes, she must be getting ready to go to bed.
Quite possibly, Watson. I only hope she doesn't forget to lock the door on the outside.
There she goes, to the dining room. Now the light's gone. I say, the mists are creeping up from the meadow.
If only the thief doesn't wait until they blanket the house.
Look, the service door is opening.
Excellent. I didn't think he'd wait very long. There he comes out into the moonlight.
He's wearing a long black cape. You can't see his face.
He's forcing the window.
He's got it open. He's climbing over the sill.
We must get closer so we can see.
I see he's lighting the candles on the mantel. Look, he's pulling back the rug.
In the floor, I thought so.
He's lifting up a board.
Now then, Mr. Joseph Harrison, be good enough to hand over the papers you've just removed from that hiding place.
Look out, Holmes, he's got a knife.
You really have to see Clippercraft clothes to know their excellence. And it's easy enough to see them right at your own local independent store. You have to see them because such superlatively fine quality, sold at such low prices, amazes even the experts. Suits are only $40 and $43.75. Top coats and overcoats are only $50, and sport jackets only $25. The fit is beautiful, the woolens are long-wearing, the tailoring is really superb. Across the nation, giving you the savings from this group at the store you trust. Selling expensive clothes at inexpensive low prices at the nation's finest independent stores is the great big idea behind the Clippercraft plan. That's why men who know insist on Clippercraft clothes. So be sure to visit the Clippercraft store in your city. The leading store in the metropolitan area that bring you Clippercraft clothes are Saks 34th, Broadway at 34th Street, Manhattan, Abraham & Straus, Brooklyn, the Boulevard Men's Shop, Kresge, Newark, New Jersey, and the B&B Clothes Shop, 16408 Jamaica Avenue, Jamaica. These great, courteous, and friendly stores are proud to add their names to that of Clippercraft in the label of your suit, top coat, sports jacket, and overcoat. Let's return to 221B Baker Street, where Percy Phelps is anxiously awaiting the arrival of Sherlock Holmes.
But it's almost 9 now, Mrs. Hudson, and Holmes said they'd be here for breakfast at 9.
Now, don't you worry, Mr. Phelps. If he says he'll be here for breakfast, he'll be here. It's when he don't say, that's when you don't know whether it'll be breakfast or supper he'll be wanting next. What did I tell you? Here they are now, driving up in a handsome cab. There's the front door, and it's 9 to the second.
Good morning, Mrs. Hudson.
Good morning. Piping hot.
But I say, Holmes, you've been wounded.
Just a scratch. Breakfast. 3 covered dishes. Splendid. And plenty of steaming coffee. Excellent.
Did you... I mean...
Come. Business can wait until after breakfast. You look as if you needed a bit of nourishment, Mr. Phelps.
Well, I'm really not very hungry.
Well, we are, aren't we, Watson?
I'm ravenous.
Aha! What's this? Curried chicken. And, this? Ham and eggs. Better and better. Which will you take, Mr. Phelps?
Thank you. I couldn't touch a thing.
Oh, come, try the dish before you.
Rather not, really.
Well, then I suppose you have no objection to helping me. Let's see what that contains.
Certainly. What? It's papers. It's the naval treaty. The naval... Oh, God bless you, Mr. Holmes. You saved me and you've saved England.
Don't mention it, my dear chap. Don't mention it. But when did Holmes first begin to suspect this Harrison fellow, Dr. Watson?
When he heard that Percy was expecting him to stop by for him, Mr. Harris, I'm afraid Joseph's character was blacker than one would judge from his appearance. We learned later that he had lost heavily in dabbling in stocks.
And he thought he could turn the treaty into money.
Yes. Besides, no one but Joseph could be so anxious to get into that bedroom because no one but Joseph could have concealed anything there. Also, the attempt was made the first night the nurse was out of the way. Therefore, the intruder was well acquainted with the house.
But the bell, Dr. Watson, why was that so significant?
Well, Mr. Harris, it showed that the thief had not come there to Percy's office to steal the papers. He came for another reason, by appointment, as we know. He rang the bell and then happened to see the papers.
Dr. Watson, was he convicted?
No, the case was never brought to court. It would have been too ticklish a position for the Foreign Office. He was advised, however, to get out of the country and stay out.
And did Percy marry the sister doctor?
He did. And to this day, I don't believe she knows why her brother never returns to England.
Why, that was an exciting case, Dr. Watson. And now, what story are we to have next week?
Well, let me see. Next week, I think I'll tell about the Cornish horror, or the cradle that rocked itself.
The cradle that rocked itself?
Yes, Mr. Harris, the rocking cradle was supposed to indicate that someone in the Trevining household was about to die. As a matter of fact, there were 2 deaths, and another that Holmes... Well, suppose I leave that till next week, eh?
And now, Dr. Watson, I think we're ready for tonight's story.
Yes, it was one evening in the fall of... Let me see. Yes, the fall of 1892. An evening clear with a little nip in the air. Holmes and I were sitting in front of the fireplace in our Baker Street lodgings. Mrs. Hudson had just cleared away all evidence of our evening meal. Holmes was playing random chords on his violin, and I was stretched out in my cane-backed chair in a sort of digestive coma, staring fixedly at my boots.
Watson, why Turkish?
What's that?
I was propounding the question, why Turkish?
Oh, you mean my boots? Well, they're not. They're English. I got them at Latimer's in Oxford Street. I always get them at Holmes. You know that.
Not the boots, Watson, the bath. Why the relaxing and expensive Turkish variety rather than the invigorating homemade article?
Because for the last few days I've been feeling a bit... Holmes been acting up a bit. Thought my system could stand a bit of house cleaning. But how the deuce did you know?
Elementary, my dear Watson. Elementary. Your boots.
What's the matter with my boots?
The deduction's perfectly obvious. I might say childish. You do up your boots in a certain way. They are now done up in an elaborate double bow, which is not your method. Therefore, you've had them off. Who tied them up again? Obviously, either your bootmaker or the boy at the bath. The shoes are quite new, so it wasn't the bootmaker. What remains? The bath. Simple as it.
Why all this fuss over my Turkish bath?
I gather you're not feeling quite fit. Why not make a little trip? How would Lausanne suit you? First-class expenses paid on a princely scale.
What are you talking about?
A trip to Lausanne with a run up to Baden-Baden and ending up at Montpellier.
Yes, but Holmes, the season at Lausanne and Baden-Baden is closed.
Unfortunately, Watson, there is no closed season for females.
What's that?
The drifting and friendless woman of means is the most dangerous classes in the world. She is herself quite harmless, but she is the inevitable inciter of crime in others. She's helpless. She's migratory. She has sufficient means to take her from country to country, from hotel to hotel. When she's gobbled up, she's hardly missed. She's a stray chicken in a world of foxes.
Now you can spare me the generalizations, Holmes. I see what you mean. Who is the missing woman?
Lady Frances Carfax.
What, you mean the only child of the late Earl of Ruffton? But look here, Holmes.
Not so tremendously, Watson. The estates went to the mail line. Her cousin's now. And has some very remarkable old jewelry. Curiously cut diamonds, to which she was very attached. Too attached, Watson, for she always carried them with her.
A tempting morsel for any criminal.
Quite. The lady herself is still a beautiful woman, in her early 40s.
Yes, but what's happened to her?
That's our problem. Or is she alive? It's been her invariable habit to write every second week to her old governess, a Miss Dobney, who's retired and lives in Camberwell.
Yeah.
It's this Miss Dobney who's consulted me. Nearly 5 weeks passed without a word. The last letter was from the Hotel National in Lausanne. Lady Frances left there hurriedly and gave no address. She's reported as having been seen in Baden-Baden. But from there, she seems to have disappeared into thin air. Her family are upset. No man is to be spared.
Oh, yes, but Holmes, there must be other sources of information. Surely she corresponded with other people besides this Miss Dobney.
Only one we could discover.
Who was that?
Single ladies must live, Watson. A passbook is almost as good as a diary. There's always the bank. We've just been glancing over her account.
And?
The last check but one paid her bill at Lausanne. But it was a large one and probably left her with considerable cash in hand.
And the last check, to whom was it made out and where was it cashed?
To Marie Devine. And it was cashed at the Crédit Lyonnais at Montpellier less than 3 weeks ago. The sum was £50.
Who is Marie Devine?
Marie Devine was the maid of Lady Frances Carfax for the past 7 years. Montpellier is her home.
Well, then she was dismissed, or perhaps she left. But why £50? That's a large sum of money.
Those are a few of the questions I hope your researches will clear up.
My researches? Look here, Holmes, aren't you coming?
Certainly not, Watson. My health is in no need of change. Scotland Yard feels lonely without me, and besides, my absence would cause an unhealthy excitement among the criminal classes.
Pardon me, gendarme. I say, can you direct me to the home of Mademoiselle Marie Devine?
Oh, but certainly, monsieur. The little house on the corner, the one with the red geraniums in the window.
Oh, thank you very much.
Not at all.
What a wild goose chase this has been. Lausanne, Baden-Baden, and now this place. I probably won't learn any more here than I did in the other.
Monsieur Desire?
Oh, pardon me. Does Mademoiselle Marie Devine live here?
But certainly, monsieur, I am she. Will you have the goodness to enter?
Oh, thank you.
Please, will you come in here? Be so good as to sit down.
Thank you.
Bon. Now, what is it I can do for you?
You don't by any chance know the present whereabouts of your former mistress?
You mean Lady Frances?
Hmm?
But no. Is anything the matter?
Well, you see, she seems to have disappeared, and naturally
I knew it. He has got her, the black one. Oh, I knew it would happen. I should have stayed with her.
What's this? What black one?
He is bad, wicked. One day on the promenade at Lausanne, monsieur, I see him seize her by the wrist. He follow her around for days. We see him everywhere we go. It was for fear.
Oh, gosh.
He was so big, so black. A very sauvage, monsieur.
Black savage? You mean an aborigine or a wild man?
Oh, no, monsieur, not like that. But I think he was wild all the same.
But you said he was black.
Yes, black. From the sun, but black.
Oh, you mean tan?
Oui, tan. But his eyes, they are blue.
Do you know his name?
Oh, no. Madame, she will never speak of him. But I think she knows him from before. Oh, she's afraid. She trembles all over like a leaf every time she sees him.
So you left Lausanne?
Yes, we go suddenly, so we cannot follow. We go to Baden-Baden.
Oh, yes, I followed the trail that far. You stayed at the Englischerhof for a fortnight. Did you see anyone there that Lady Frances knew?
At first, no. But in a few days, Madame made the acquaintance of a Dr. Schlesinger and his wife. He's a missionary from South America.
Schlesinger? That must have been the man who Holmes wired me about. Wanted to know if there was anything wrong with his left.
Not here well? No, I do not think that is.
That telegram was probably a bit of home spoofing. Well, go on about this mission.
Poor man is very sick. He's recovering from a tropical fever. Such a good man, so brave, so patient. My lady, she helps Mrs. Schlesinger to take care of him. And all the time they talk of religion.
Sounds placid enough.
But then, one morning, Lady Francis, she come back from the baths. She has seen him again, the black Englishman. She's in a terror. She tells me she's leaving at once for England with the Schlesingers. They have promised to protect her. And so, next day, she is gone. And that is the last I see of her.
Why didn't she take you along with her?
Monsieur, well, you see, I'm what you call a fiancée. I'm to be married next week.
Oh, I see.
So Madame is so good, she let me go, and she gave me a nice check for my wedding present. And now she is gone. I never forgive myself I did not take her safe to England. These poor Schlesingers, they do not know this black man. They do not realize the danger.
Oh, my dear mademoiselle, it's not your fault. You mustn't be alarmed.
Oh, but monsieur, I'm in an agony of fear until she is found.
Now, I'm sure my friend Sherlock Holmes will find her if it's humanly possible. Well, good day, Mademoiselle Devine. I must go. It's getting late. Thank you for your information.
Not at all, monsieur. It has been a pleasure. I only hope... Oh, monsieur.
Yes?
Look there, coming down the street. It is he, the sauvage, the black man I told you about. He's coming here. Oh, monsieur, I am afraid. Do not let him see me.
Oh, confound the girl. She shut the door in my face. Oh, she'd only take me inside with her. Well, I suppose I shall have to brazen it out.
Can you tell me if Miss Marie Devine lives here?
Marie Devine. That's a nice name, eh? Who's she? Sounds a bit like a music hall singer, doesn't it? Jolly name, Marie Devine.
I believe I saw you talking to the lady in question just 2 minutes ago.
Who, me? Talking to Marie Devine? Oh, nonsense, my good fellow. That was a cousin of mine, a dear little thing.
What's her name?
Oh, my cousin. Her name's Emma or Mattie or something like that. What's your name?
That's none of your business.
You're an Englishman, I take it.
What if I...
Look here, what's the good of beating about the bush? What have you done with her?
What have I done with whom?
Lady Frances Carfax, of course. Where is she, you swine?
Why, you little gutter sniper, bring me burning your body.
Oh, no, you won't. You don't want your head bashed in.
I'll show you.
Oh, no, you don't. Take that.
Ask me a question like that, will you?
Good for nothing, kidnapper.
I'll shoot you till your teeth rattle.
Gentlemen, please.
Holmes. Good heavens, where did you drop from?
And now, sir, if you'll kindly release my friend. Watson, let go of the gentleman's tie.
But Holmes, look here, I've got him. This is the chap who abducted Lady Frances Carfax.
There he goes again.
Wait, stop. Gentlemen, as you may perceive, I am armed with a rather businesslike little cudgel. The first one to continue this brawl will have it cracked across his cranium.
But Holmes, don't you
Watson,
realize...
come along back to the hotel. It might be a good idea to find a piece of raw beef for that right eye before it swells completely shut. Well, Watson, how does it feel to get back to Baker Street after your little vacation?
I must say, Holmes, I don't see why you had to go butting in and drag me back to London just as I was just about to clear up the whole case.
As you were about to have your head bashed in, you mean?
But Holmes,
Steady, Watson, steady, or you'll lose the compress over your arm. A singularly consistent investigation you've made, that I must say, Watson.
Ah, so you admit I've done rather well, eh?
Well, I cannot at the moment recall any possible blunder which you've omitted.
Now, really, Holmes,
You've managed to give the alarm everywhere and yet have discovered nothing.
Perhaps you think you could have done better.
I have done better, my dear Watson. I have done better.
What do you mean?
From the hotel keeper in Baden-Baden, I discovered the interesting fact that our missionary friend's left ear was jagged or torn.
Oh, rubbish. What can the shape of a man's ear have to do with a lady's disappearance?
Watson, that mutilated ear is the crux of the whole case.
Well, what does it prove?
It proves that we're dealing with an especially astute and dangerous criminal. The Reverend Dr. Schlesinger from South America is none other than a character known internationally as Holy. His particular specialty is preying upon lonely ladies by appealing to their religion. And his so-called wife is a worthy helpmate. They're an infernal couple who stick at nothing.
I see. But then Lady Frances Carfax is dead by now.
Dead or worse. She may never have reached London. On the other hand, they may have her confined in some house in this very city.
Why not abroad?
No, I think not. The continental system of registration is too strict. All my instincts tell me she's in London.
How can we locate her?
Patience, my dear Watson, patience. We must wait until the police spot Peters, or until he tries to market some of the jewels. Is working on that phase of the problem. May not be any too lively, Watson, but they are thorough.
Yes, but in the meantime, Schlesinger may have killed the poor lady.
That's the yard's responsibility, not mine.
But the black-haired Englishman. You let him slide through your fingers. Surely he must have had something to do with the disappearance.
Right again, Watson.
Then why let him escape?
Escape, Watson. Escape? The fellow's been hounding me to death. Come in. Come in, I say. Ah, there, Lestrade. Scotland Yard's unearthed something, eh? You look as excited as a terrier that smells a rat.
Been on his tail, all right, Mr. Holmes.
I take it you mean Holy Peters.
Who else? Here, Mr. Holmes. Take a look at this.
Aha. An earring. Old Spanish. Gold with diamonds and emeralds. Yes, that belongs to Lady Francis. Where did you find it?
Oh, yesterday Mr. Road by a stout man with a piece out of his left ear.
Excellent, Lestrade, excellent.
Yes, but how does that help? I don't imagine he left his address.
No, but he will return to pawn the other jewels, mark my word. Come along, Watson. Suppose we keep an eye on that shop.
That's it, Mr. Holmes. The third shop past the corner. The one with all the junk in the window.
Yes, Lestrade. It's just about closing time, so I don't imagine we shall catch the old boy today.
I must say I'm just as glad. It's like a storm coming up. I shouldn't really be standing out here in the rain.
Wait a minute. Who's that? Yes, by Jove, I think it is.
Is what? Surely that tall, raw-boned female just coming out of the shop isn't Peters.
No, it's not Peters, but if I'm not mistaken, it's his wife. Quick, we must follow her.
Seems to be in a hurry, don't she?
Looks to me as though she might be up to something.
Wait a bit. She stopped in front of another shop. She's going in.
Lestrade, Watson, look. It's an undertaker's shop.
Undertakers?
I don't like the looks of that, sir.
Neither do I. Look here. I've got to know what she's doing in there. I can't go in. She may know me by sight. Watson, you go in and ask about a coffin for your great-aunt Matilda.
But I haven't got a great-aunt Matilda, and furthermore, she doesn't need a coffin.
Don't argue. Get into that shop and leave the door ajar so we can hear. Lestrade and I will be hiding in the next doorway.
Very well, but I must say I
Don't burble. You're wasting precious time. Remember, Lady Francis Carfin may be in danger.
Late now on the hasn't come yet. I told you it was an emergency.
I'm terribly sorry, Mum, but you see, it took longer, being a bit out of the ordinary, and what with the sauce and
Yes,
all.
but you promised to have it there today.
And that it will be, Mum. It's on its way now. Shouldn't be surprised if it was there by the time you got back.
Very well. Good day.
Good day to you. Real satisfactory. And now, what can I do for you, sir?
Well, you see, I have an Aunt Matilda, or rather, I suppose I should say I had an Aunt Matilda, and she, well, you see, she
Watson,
was...
come along. Your Aunt Matilda will have to wait. Mrs. Peters is more important at present.
There she goes, Holmes, round that corner.
Hurry, Watson.
I'm hurrying. Feel that wind.
I don't like this Clyn incident. It looks a bit too sinister to me.
Well, look here, Mr. Holmes. If they've murdered the poor lady, they'd be more apt to bury her in a hole in the backyard. Nice and quiet.
Burial with all the red tape of a medical certificate and official sanction. Don't like it, Watson. Don't like it at all.
There she goes. Into that house. Third on the left.
Grim-looking place. All the blinds down. It looks forbidding.
I'd swear it had been lived in recently.
Oh, did you hear that?
You've got to get into that house.
So you haven't got a search warrant. You can't enter a house.
Warrant be blasted. Watson, you and the house. Lestrade, you go back to Scotland Yard and have a warrant sent around with a pair of burnt policemen to back it up. And hurry, there's no time to waste. When you buy your first Clippercraft, perhaps you'll wonder how truly fine clothes can be made today at such modest prices. Trying on a new spring Clippercraft suit, however, is a convincing experience. You know that rich-looking worsted will give you long service. You feel the comfort only skilled design makes possible. You're obviously dressed in the best of taste. Yes, it's difficult to believe that such handsome, expensive-looking Clippercraft suits are only $40 and $45. Top coats in fine coverts and worsted gabardine, only $40 and $45, and sport jackets, only $26.50. Clippercraft values are made possible only by the great Clippercraft plan, which concentrates the buying power of 1,036 fine stores across the nation.
136.
Yes, selling expensive
Changes every
clothes
week.
at inexpensive low prices at the nation's finest stores is the great big idea behind the Clippercraft plan. That's why men who know insist on Clippercraft clothes. So be sure to visit the Clippercraft store in your city.
These leading stores in the metropolitan area are proud to add their names to Clippercraft in your suits, top coats, and sport jackets. In Manhattan, John Wanamaker Men's Stores, Broadway at 8th and 67 Liberty Street. Saks 34th, Broadway at 34th. In Brooklyn, Abraham and Strauss. In Newark, New Jersey, Boulevard Men's Shop, Kresge Newark. And in Jamaica, the B&B Clothes Shop, 16408 Jamaica Avenue.
And now back to Dr. Watson and Mr. Holmes, who are about to force their way into a strange house in which a woman has been screaming.
But look here, Holmes. You're not going to ring the front door bell.
Why not? Well, always try the easiest method first, Watson. Yes, someone's coming.
Well, what do you want?
I want to speak to Dr. Schlesinger.
There's no such person here. Take your foot out of the doorway.
Not until I've seen the man who lives here.
Very well, then. Come in. You're letting in the rain standing here. And let me tell you this. My husband is not afraid of any man alive. I'll call him.
The place hasn't been lived in for some time. Notice the dust on the chandelier, Watson. Yes, and they intend leaving again shortly. Muslin covers haven't been removed from the furniture.
Dreary old hole. So listen to the wind in the chimney. Oh, it's cold and clammy smell.
Ah, gentle. Well, there must be some mistake. I fancy you've been misdirected. Perhaps if you try further down the street.
That will do. We've no time to waste. You Henry Peters, the late Reverend Dr. Schlesinger of Baden-Baden and South America.
And you are Mr. Sherlock Holmes, if I'm not mistaken.
Quite.
Your name does not frighten me, Mr. Holmes. When a man's conscience is clear, you can't.
What have you done with Lady Frances Carfax?
Well, I should be very glad if you could inform me of her whereabouts. She gave us the slip, owing me £100. Nothing to show for it but a couple of cheap ornaments she left in my possession.
I have reason to believe she's in the house, and I mean to find her.
Where is your warrant?
This efficient little revolver will serve until a better one comes.
Annie, get a policeman! I'll have you thrown out.
Quick, Watson, our time's limited. Peters, where's the coffin?
Use. There's a body in it.
I must see that body.
No, you don't.
I warn you, you'll be hurt. Now then, Watson, first the dining room. Open that door.
Holmes, there's the coffin on the table. I don't like the looks of this.
Turn up the gas, I can't see. It's better.
Why, it's a little dried-up old woman.
Yes. It's not Lady Carfax.
Possibly. This poor old thing is over 80. She's almost lost in that coffin.
You've blundered badly for once, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. If you really must know, that is an old nurse of my wife's. We located her in Brixton Workhouse Infirmary days ago. We brought her here. Unfortunately, the doctor we called in couldn't save her. Day before yesterday, she died. Certificate says senile decay. Pick a hole in that, Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
You hear that, Holmes? It's a woman in pain.
Nonsense, just the wind of the chimney. It behaves that way on bad nights.
Mr. Peters, I'm going through your house.
Oh, no, you're not. Put up your hands, both of you.
Annie, I thought I told you to go for the police.
I think this shotgun will be as good an argument as any policeman. Come along. Out you go and be quick about it.
Look here, you can't bullyrag us.
Easy, Watson, easy. I'm afraid we shall have to do as the lady suggests. She's so persuasive.
I say, Holmes, I'm drenched to the skin. How long do we have to stand here in this beastly rain?
When Lestrade comes back with a search warrant, I'm not going to take my eyes off that house. Confound it, why does Scotland Yard always have to be so slow?
Say, look, Holmes. What's that carriage driving up in front of the house?
Great thunder, it's a hearse. Why a hearse this time of night? Why the hurry? There's something wrong about this, Watson. Something I can't quite figure out.
They're bringing out the coffin.
See, of him. Of course. Deeper. Special job. What a fool I've been. Quick, Watson. We must stop that coffin. It's life or death, and 100 chances to 1 is death.
But how? I don't understand.
Put that coffin down. Put it down, I say.
You again. I thought I told you to keep out of this.
Order those men to put that coffin down, Peters, or I'll blow your brains out.
Very well, but I'll have you arrested for this.
Good. Here comes Inspector Lestrade of Scotland Yard. You could speak to him about that.
Hello? What's up? Catch them, Lestrade. That man and woman, they're trying to make a get.
No, you don't. Here, Watson, never mind that. Help me pry the top off this coffin.
But Holmes, you're not going to do it out here in the rain.
So God, you get at it. All right. This side, see loose. Hurry.
All right.
That's it. Now again. Here we are. That does it.
Phew. What a beastly smell of chloroform. Well, the coffin is saturated. Look here, Holmes. There's nothing in here but the old woman.
Take her out quickly. Don't you see she's resting nearer the top than she was before? Take her out. There's a false bottom. That's it. It should lift out.
By Jove, it does lift out. Look, there's another compartment underneath.
And in it is Lady Frances Carfax. Watson, tell me quickly. Are we too late? She gone?
No, there's still a faint pulse. We'll be able to bring her down in time. Phew, but it was a close call.
Yes, thank heaven we were in time to prevent a double funeral.
Our gentleman, the one who gave you the black eye.
Well, he turned out to be the sheep in wolf's clothing, a boyhood sweetheart of Lady Frances Carfax. I believe they had had a lover's quarrel many years before, and the Honorable Philip Green, that was his name, he'd drifted off to South America, bought a coffee plantation, and proceeded to become disgracefully wealthy. After many years, he discovered that the lady had never married, possibly because she was still in love with him. So back he came to try his luck the second time. His wooing was a trifle tempestuous, I fancy. But the lady finally relented, so the story has a happy ending.
And now, Dr. Watson, what about next week's story?
Next week, I think I'll tell you about a famous family who had a monster in their tower room, and how that monster later threatened the true heir to the succession, and by what quick-witted means Holmes showed up a gigantic swindle.
The makers of Clippercraft clothes and 1036 leading stores from coast to coast have brought you another in the new series of broadcasts featuring the world's most famous detective, Sherlock Holmes. Our stories are based upon the character of Sherlock Holmes, created by Sir Arthur Conan, John Stanley, Dr. Watson by Alfred Shirley, and the dramatization by Edith Meisner. Sherlock Holmes is produced and directed by Basil Lochran, with special music by Albert Berman. If you don't know your Clippercraft dealer, write Clippercraft, 200 Fifth Avenue, New York City. Be sure to listen next Sunday to Sherlock Holmes in The Return of the Monster.
Ooh, The Return of the Monster. Can't miss that. I was thinking I was going to miss next week, but now that I know,
How about the Devil's Foot or the Cornish Horror?
can't
It
miss
was
it.
the spring of the year 1897. Holmes's iron constitution had shown some signs of giving way due to a particularly arduous and nerve-wracking winter. In March of that year, Dr. Moore Agar of Harley Street gave positive injunctions that Holmes get out into the country for a protracted rest. Well, the third week in March found us settled in a small cottage near Poldhu Bay at the further extremity of the Cornish Peninsula.
Isn't that rather a bleak country for convalescent, Dr. Watson?
Bleak is putting it mildly. I've never known such grim surroundings, but it suited Holmes admirably. He seemed to blossom in that weird and foreboding fog-swept district.
Just his natural perverseness, I suppose.
Oh, I dare say. Our little whitewashed cottage stood on a grassy headland. From its windows, we looked down upon the whole sinister semicircle of Mounts Bay, that old death trap, with its fringe of black cliffs and surge-swept reefs. In every direction, there were traces of some vanished race which had left as its sole record strange monuments of stone. Holmes spent most of his time pottering around these weird ruins. Everything was going along peacefully until one morning our simple and healthy routine was violently interrupted. We were precipitated into the middle of a series of gruesome and nerve-shattering events.
Quite a surf this morning, eh, Watson? You can see the spray flung up against a good 100 feet above sea level. I don't think I shall venture out today. Bad weather. Old boy is certainly lashing himself into a fine frenzy.
What do you mean, the old boy, Holmes?
The devil, Watson. The devil himself.
What are you raving about?
Didn't I tell you that the natives hereabouts refer to that seething death trap down there as the devil's cauldron? They think the old gentleman himself lives there.
How unsettling.
Yes, a very interesting superstition. You know, Watson, this locality is supposed to have been the last resort of devil worship in England.
Oh, really? Huh?
Many scientists believe that those huge prehistoric monuments of stone were part of the temple given over to the Prince of Darkness.
Preposterous.
Oh, I don't know. It's as logical as most of the theories that endeavor to explain their existence. The superstition goes on to say that when the devil was finally driven from his temple, he took refuge in the bay down there. Yes, they claim that on stormy nights you can hear his hoofbeats as he races up and down the rocks.
Holmes, what are you trying to do? Give me a case of nerves?
Hello, what's this? What's this? Someone is running up our path, his cloak flapping about like a giant bat.
Why, it's that Tregennis fellow, the one who boards with the vicar.
Mortimer Tregennis, eh? Wonder what's happened. Face as white as a sheet. Couldn't look more upset if he'd seen Beelzebub himself. Open the door, Watson.
Mr. Holmes, thank heaven I find you at home. The most terrible thing has happened. I can scarcely believe it.
Now, sit down, my dear fellow, sit down. That's better. Now, perhaps you can tell us what has happened.
My family, my sister and I, we were playing cards.
Slowly now, take your time.
My family, my sister and my two brothers. It's too terrible. Why, just last night I was with them at the house. Titanic warfare, it's called. All well and happy. We played cards. And now, without warning, I can't believe it.
Easy, Tregennis, easy. There's a good fellow.
I left them last night. My sister Brenda.
No.
What time was that?
The clock in the church steeple over Polo was chiming 10 o'clock as I closed the front door behind me. I left them all in the card room, laughing and in good spirits.
And?
This morning, being an early riser, I was out taking a walk before breakfast when Dr. Richards overtook me in his carriage with the news that he'd been sent for and the most urgent call from Titanic warfare. Something terrible had happened to my family. I jumped in beside him and he whipped up the horses.
And what did you find?
Oh, Mr. Holmes, it was terrible, ghastly. My two brothers and my sister, there in the card room just as I had left them. But what a change. What a ghastly change.
Yes?
Brenda lay back stone dead in her chair. And my laughing and shouting and singing. The three of them, my poor dead sister and my two demented brothers, retained upon their faces an expression of ghastly horror. A convulsion of terror. How terrible. Yes. Dr. Richard was so overcome at the sight that he fell fainting into a chair.
Anyone else in the house besides your sister and brothers?
Only Mrs. Porter, the old housekeeper.
I presume it was she who found them this morning.
Yes. She always goes to the house in the mornings, airing it out before the family comes down. The shock was too much for her. She's had a nervous collapse. Put her to bed.
No wonder. An exceptional case. Most exceptional.
That's right. We could find no traces of strangers in or around the house. Nothing was stolen, nothing touched. The vicar believes you are the only one who can solve the case, Mr. Holmes. He insisted I come to you.
I shall be only too glad to handle the matter, of course. But first I must ask you a few questions.
Anything, Mr. Holmes, anything.
To begin with, Mr. Tregennis, why do you live with a vicar, separated from your family?
Well, as a matter of fact, we had a slight argument a few years ago about some property it was. But that was all settled long ago. We were on the best of terms.
Now, Mr. Tregennis, about last night, do you recall anything at all that was out of the ordinary?
There was one thing that occurs to me. As we sat at the card table, my back was to the window. George was facing me. Suddenly, I saw him look over my shoulder out of the window. I turned quickly, and just for a moment, I thought I caught a glimpse of something moving. Man or animal? I don't quite know. My brother said he had the same feeling. It's uncanny, that's what it is. Something came into that room, and that something killed my sister and dashed the light of my brother's mind. Something devilish it was.
If that should prove, I fear I shall be of very little assistance, Mr. Tregennis. But short of wrestling with the satanic majesty, I think perhaps we can solve your problem. Come, Watson. We'd best go down to Tridanic water at once. This is the house, Mr. Holmes. Whose carriage is this coming down the drive with the blinds down? Somebody in. My brothers. My poor brother. It's Dr. Richard's carriage. He's taking them to Handstop Asylum. It's too awful. My poor brother. Easy, Tregennis, easy. Pull yourself together. I'll do my best. Good man.
I'll do my best.
Which are the windows of the card room?
This one here. Oh, look out, Holmes. You've upset the watering can.
Dear, how... Sorry, Tregennis. I'm afraid I've drenched your boots.
No matter, Mr. Holmes. Shall we go in?
Yes. I have seen all I need to see out here.
This way. The card room is over here.
Do you notice anything, Watson?
No, I can't say that I do. This is the card room.
I see the windows still open. The housekeeper left it that way, I presume?
Yes, she says it was locked on the inside when she came in.
How do we want to texture
Quite
this?
so. I think we may close it now.
This is where I wish I was better at Blender at this point in time. For today, I think we're going to go with some sort of...
Cards still on the table. They have not risen from their chairs, I take it, and you left at 10. That sets the hour of death at some time before 11. Fire burned out. Why a fire? Had they always a fire in this small room on a spring evening?
It was cold and damp last night, Mr. Holmes.
I can subtract. It's not easy for me to add texture to that.
Well, that seems to
because
be
it's an
about
arching
all.
surface
No
here.
disturbance of any kind. Strange.
Oh, come along, Holmes. Come along. The room gives me the jumps. There's something about the atmosphere. As though death was still hovering in the air.
I wonder. Come, Watson. We will return to our contact.
Yeah, that's got to stop. Whatever that right now, that's got to stop.
I shall communicate with you. It won't do, Watson. It won't do. All the facts are negative.
Yeah,
Do you think Mr. Tregennis's account of his actions last night was truthful?
Quite, Watson. Quite. You remember the incident of the spilt watering can? I did that to obtain an impression of his foot.
I take it you succeeded?
I did. With that print as a sample, I was able to trace his movements last night. His story is correct. He left the house at about 10, went straight back to the vicarage and did not return. Nor did anyone more leave that house.
Then it must have been the man or animal they thought they saw in the bushes. He must have returned and frightened them to death.
There was no such man or animal, Watson. Last night was a dark night. Anyone who had the wish to frighten these people would be compelled to put his face against the glass before he could be seen.
Well?
There's a 3-foot flower border outside the card room window. But there are absolutely no footprints.
Yes, but that
it means Mr. Tregennis' sister and her 2 brothers were alone when the brothers insane.
But Holmes, that would be supernatural.
I hope not, Watson.
Look, here comes another visitor up our path. Stranger this time. Big, savage-looking fella.
That, my dear Watson, is none other than the famous Dr. Leon Sterndale.
Sterndale, the lion hunter and explorer?
Exactly.
Oh, that's what's he doing in this neighborhood?
Oh, I've heard he owns a little cottage about 5 miles down the coast. They tell me he lives there absolutely by himself when he isn't off on one of his expeditions. Never mind, Watson. I'll do the honors myself. Come in, Dr. Sterndale. Come in.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes. And this is my friend, Dr. Watson.
How do you do?
How do you do? Mr. Holmes, I've come to you about the tragedy at Tridanic Water. The police are utterly at a loss. You have keener brain. Pardon me, Dr. Sterndale, but why are you so concerned in this affair?
Well, you see, during my many residences in this locality, I've come to know the family of Tregennis very well. I see. Their horrible fate has been a great shock to me, Mr. Holmes. I am so sorry. As a matter of fact, I was on my way to Africa. I got as far as Plymouth when the news reached me this morning. I came straight back to help in the inquiry. But that would make you lose your ship. One sailed for Africa this afternoon, if I'm not mistaken. I can take the next. When did you last see the Tregennis family to Sterndale? I saw Brenda, Miss Tregennis, 3 days ago, just as I was leaving for Plymouth. Oh. You have been in Plymouth for the last 3 days? Yes, in Plymouth. How did you get the news so quickly? Surely the Plymouth papers didn't carry an account of the matter in this morning's edition? I received a telegram. Telegram? You're very inquisitive, Mr. Holmes. It is my Dale. Very well. The telegram was sent by the vicar, Mr. Roundhead. I see. And now, Mr. Holmes, have you reached any conclusions? Conclusions? No. That would be a trifle premature. But I have every hope of bringing this matter to a satisfactory termination. Satisfactory to me, that is. Would you mind telling me if your suspicions point in any particular direction? I do not feel that this is the moment to answer that question, Dr. Sterndale. And I see that I've been wasting my time. I need not prolong this visit. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Close-mouthed fellow, Dr. Sterndale, isn't he, Holmes?
He told me more than he realized, Watson. But he knows even more.
How could he if he was in Plymouth?
But was he, Watson? That statement is something for us to look into.
All right, I think that's going to be good today. That's going to be as far as we can take this.
Holmes as he endeavors to solve the strange mystery of Titanic water. But first, men, remember if you want to keep your hair
Use Kreml tonic. That's right, Kreml, Kreml tonic. Okay, as I was saying, that's as far as we're going to go today. What did that take us? Something like 3 hours a minute? 2 hours. Not great at math. That's right. We started at 1:08. All right. It's kind of shark fin. It really does look like a shark fin. It's not a grip. You can tell. I mean, you can look at the two of them and you're like, this is a pistol grip. What is a pistol grip? That right there is a pistol grip. It's at an angle, but it's still it's a pistol grip. To be a featureless, it would have to be nearly straight back. Straight and back. This guy here is what we call a handstop. It's not an angled foregrip. It's not a pistol grip. It is a hand stop specific. And I like it. I like it a lot. If it was me, I would like to see this tucked back more. I would like to see this come down. I'll come up and then kind of something to get like a finger on it, like a little mini. I know, because then it becomes a forward vertical grip. It would become a vertical grip. I had a little finger thing right there. Just a little thing. It would become a forward grip. What could we do to make it better? I could add in, oh God. What a disaster. We got to get better at Blender. We got to get better at texturing in Blender so we can add up step files. Yeah, grab this and then attach to particular face. Don't exactly know how to do that yet, but I would like it so much. We'll get there. We are going to get there. Me and you and everybody else. 308. Good little session there, kids. All right, I think that's pretty much what we're looking at right there. I like it. I like it a lot. I don't know. It's okay. Really, it's just okay. I would have liked to have taken that finger feature, this guy right here. I would like to have taken that exactly and stuck it on the front of this. Problem is, as soon as you do that, it becomes a pistol grip. I really like that inner angle as soon as that came to be. Just off from drawing this down and then tucking that in, that is great. I like it. Really nice. I'm digging it. Digging it, digging it, digging it, digging it. Boop. Let's jump into visualization quick just to please the kids. We're going to start with the Handstop. Running and running and running, 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 running and running and running. Gosh, the computer really has a tough time handling these graphics. I don't know why. I think it has to do with the massive history that I have going on this particular, just a huge project file history and just a lot of files running active on this one platform that are currently isolated off screen. I'm not going to lie, that kind of looks pretty BA. I think we really did okay. That's all I'm going to say about that. We did okay. But it just seems so narrow on the bottom. I think that's going to be a sturdy little stop. I think that's going to be okay. I was going to go for 2, but it just with the placement and everything that's going on in there, we're going to go with 1 with the side member, and we're going to see how that operates for a while. Do I expect that this foregrip is going to see combat in Iraq? Probably not. Probably not. Is the grip? I hope not. I hope this is just for fun. It's for people in their backyard, people out planking, people who just want to have something awesome that they can take on a long ruck or whatever, you know. This is here to defend America from having low venison in the freezers. You know what I'm saying? This is here to protect America from wild boars coming up from Texas, you know, feral pigs. This is here to protect what you know, protect the Constitution of the United States of America. For law-abiding citizens. This is made for you. I hope you take it and enjoy it. Put it in your hands, feel it, take it out, show it to your friends. Mainly take it to the range and have people say, "What? That's different. That's pretty cool. Where'd you get that? That's not MOE. That's not this, that, or the other. That's something new. It is something new. Made it for you. Hope you like it." That's going to do the live stream. Woo! Peace out. Love you. Deuces.